for those of you who don't know Rita, she's a premium member at Life, and Rita is based in Miami. Rita will be covering today how to boost your profile, CV, LinkedIn, to give you some hints, tips, and lessons learned. Rita has very extensive experience in this field, and she was actually recognized by LinkedIn as a top recruiting voice for sharing valuable insights. I'm sure you're going to benefit from the session today. So thank you very much, Rita, for agreeing to do the session today. And the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the great introduction, Laura. I appreciate it. And hi to everyone. This is my first time doing a live session and sharing some knowledge with you. I would love to make this super interactive, so that way we can have not just Q&A at the end, but during my presentation. I would love to, if you want to raise your hand, you want to ask a question in the chat, that would be great, because I'm here to add value to you. And if there's something missing, I'd love to give you some clarity during the presentation. So we'll walk through this. And again, I want it to be interactive because I'm here to answer your questions too. I'm sure you have things that could come up throughout the presentation, or even that you were thinking about before this presentation. So certainly we'll talk through optimization on LinkedIn and your resume. And Laura already mentioned a few items about myself. I have assisted over 3,000 candidates the past 10 plus years, help them land great opportunities, but also help them optimize their job search. So really honing in on what makes you the best candidate, what makes you stand out to be that top 1%, versus, let's say there's 10 candidates that a company is looking at, how can you stand out every time? And there are a few items that I want to talk about in the job search that sometimes could happen, whether you're in the job search now or later on. There could be sometimes you have no responses. You're applying and you don't really have that many responses. We want to definitely change that. Sometimes you might not hear feedback, even in the job search. No true visibility into the steps that are occurring. And then the ATS systems, you might hear about this acronym ATS. It stands for Applicant Tracking System. And this is where companies will have an HR platform where they screen resumes and they screen candidates. They might sometimes use AI too. And they might, unfortunately, sometimes not be able to pick you up as a candidate. So how can we be that top candidate in your career, in your job search, whenever you are searching for a job? We really want to focus on the mindset first. Resume, LinkedIn, ChatGPT. I'll give you a powerful prompt. But really throughout your career, there could be a lot of ups and downs, roller coasters. Sometimes, again, that feedback loop that we just talked about, sometimes you might not get feedback from a hiring company. But focusing on what you can control is super important. And that does include LinkedIn positioning. So optimizing your LinkedIn is probably one of the most important steps to start initiating discussions with those that don't even know you. So you're applying or you're reaching out to someone and they're looking at your LinkedIn. If you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button. I will be posting a video every week to help you with your career and also land a great opportunity. So for example, I have a recruiting firm as well. And when I'm helping hiring companies, they're saying, okay, share a link to the LinkedIn profile before they even ask for a resume. So that's how powerful that social platform has become. And putting in a little bit more effort, even if you're early on in your career, will go a long way. And we'll talk about some tactics that you can do. Quick stats. So did you know job seekers with an optimized profile have a 71% higher chance of getting a job? So someone not even knowing you, just reviewing your LinkedIn profile, you are positioning yourself great, and you're going to be ahead of other candidates because they haven't put that much effort into their LinkedIn. 6 people are hired every minute on LinkedIn. Pretty crazy number to think through. And it's growing. This stat, 58 million plus hiring companies use LinkedIn. This was from a couple of months back when I did a different presentation. It could have definitely changed. We don't have their internal data, but it's definitely a very, very high number. I want to explain how recruiters and hiring companies think. Because when you know exactly how they think, what they're looking at, it's going to help you optimize your LinkedIn, optimize your resume, kind of like speak the same language as them. So that way you're capturing their attention quickly. And the goal is to capture it within 20 to 30 seconds. The reasoning behind this is, think through, let's say they have a pile of resumes, obviously electronic, they have to review all of them. And they might not have the time to commit, let's say 5 minutes to each resume, 5 minutes to each profile. So instead, they are going to sometimes glance at the resume, at the LinkedIn profile. Okay, what's right by your name? What's in your experience section? The technical skills. Did you capture those? And it needs to be really concise, but it has to pop out very, very quickly. And I'll give you some tactics to use in how you can differentiate yourself and capture that attention very, very quickly. And why is it important to optimize your LinkedIn profile? It's a competitive marketplace, and it will continue to be, especially as AI keeps growing in every industry. So how can you stand out, differentiate yourself? Definitely huge networking tool. Just a quick story. I reached out to someone recently, very cold. They were at a very high level on LinkedIn. And they mentioned that they responded to me because they saw my content. They saw something that was like, oh, that really is valuable. So on your LinkedIn, it's not just about what you have, what your focus is in your career. You could be, let's say, reposting something in your industry that holds a lot of value. Now, someone else might see it and they might say, oh, wow, great. Like, this person is keeping up with their career, their industry, and you're staying top of mind. So let's say, for example, let's throw out a quick scenario. Imagine you apply to a job and you're in the process. Maybe you're going through the final round. You connected with everyone on LinkedIn. Definitely always recommend that when you're going through an interview process. And they keep seeing you repost or adding a thoughtful comment on something that's interesting in the industry. You're going to stand out. You're going to stay top of mind versus just waiting for feedback or just waiting for things that could be outside of your control. You are helping them make a better decision to select you because now they're seeing you as more valuable than other candidates that might not be adding value on LinkedIn. And, overall, fast tracking your job search, we'll talk through a setting on LinkedIn. Many of you might already know it, but I'll give you some tips about it. And overall, the goal, even if you're not searching for a job, think about your LinkedIn profile as your personal and professional brand that will last long-term, not just short-term. So little things that you do now, it'll have like a compound effect in your career because someone can go back, they can see how active you've been, what you talk about, what you comment on, and that's part of your brand. That's part of, honestly, the sell. You're selling basically yourself to the hiring company when that time were to come. But even if you're not, how can you stay relevant in the marketplace? And it's the content. It could be once a week that you repost something. Maybe you search for groups or industries and identify, let's say, 2 great organizations. You start following them. They post maybe on a daily basis, maybe every other day. and something captures your attention and you add a thoughtful comment.
If you're tired of getting rejected by employers and ready to land your next great opportunity faster, I've put together a free guide that walks you through the exact steps you need to take to land that job faster for you to be identified as that best candidate. Comment guide, and I will send you a direct link to grab it.
Well, now that's in your history on LinkedIn, your activity. So if someone let's say you're trying to connect with someone, they look at your profile, they look at your recent activity, and they see alignment with, oh yeah, I follow that too, or that makes sense what they said. It kind of helps you increase the successful networking because they are seeing your activity and what you're about and what you comment on. It really does help. And overall, of course, this is when you're in your job search. When you're in your job search, the goal with your LinkedIn optimization, you want the organic flow. So you want hiring companies coming to you versus you applying to hundreds of jobs. Hopefully that never happens, but just in general, think through how you can build the profile for when you would like to transition or for when you're at that highest level. How does it look like these years of building this profile? Is it going to help you reach that highest level in your career? Because now you've also identified yourself as a thought leader. Even if you're early on in your career, start thinking through that, because if your long-term goal could be, okay, I want to be a CFO or a VP in my industry, or just at a very, very high level. Hiring companies now, they're really looking for thought leadership and not just someone that can't market themselves. A leader really has to have a presence. So if you start it now, it will definitely help you long-term. And the best way to do that, again, is fully optimizing your profile. Let's get it. Well, first, let me just stop in case anyone wants to put a question in the chat. I'm definitely going to try to monitor the chat as best as I can. If you have any questions about anything that I'm referring to, please ask. But if there are no questions, I'll definitely move on. So how do you optimize your LinkedIn profile? One area that's super important to know, having keywords everywhere. And when I mention keywords, it's think through your profile. If you were to scroll through it right now, right by your name, your headline, you have a couple of lines that you can input some text. Have you put, sorry about that, have you put at minimum the technical terms that relate to your career? So if, for example, I'm not sure what everyone is studying, or if you're outside of university, if you graduated, what was your overall focus? What is your overall focus in university? Or if you graduated, what was your major? Maybe if you type it in the chat, I can give you some examples. I know sometimes there could be a delay in the chat as well. Mechanical engineering, finance, bioinformatics, okay, law. So chemical, software engineering, computer science, Ryan, Sarah, law, environmental health. Okay, great. I see a lot of finance, engineering, some health, some law. Great. I am most familiar with finance. I might use that as an example. There are a lot of different technical, data science, great. A lot of technical terminology in finance that can include, even in data science, data analytics, for example. That would be a great keyword to ensure it's in your headline, it's in your about section, it's in your experience, basically every section that you can. And then when you identify skills, also inputting skills. For example, let's say if you're growing in finance and you have also an expertise in FP&A, you become more of a financial planning and analysis expert. That would be another keyword. FP&A, financial analysis. Keywords are really on the technical side, it really means associated with your studies, with your technical expertise versus, let's say, the leadership qualities. Of course, you're working on your leadership qualities. You're probably a great person, great leader. You have strong communication, soft skills. But when you're optimizing specifically for your job search, it's more of the technical keywords associated with your studies, associated with your internships. Those are really going to stand out to the recruiter versus, let's say, someone just puts, okay, communication, leadership, networking, those soft skills. Of course, you can speak to it during the interview, but on the LinkedIn profile, definitely make sure the technical is everywhere. The soft skills, of course, in your about section, you can show your personality a little bit, you know, what you're passionate about. Definitely recommend that. But specifically for job search, when you are searching for that job, you want the recruiter, hiring company that has 20 to 30 seconds that reviews your profile. You want those keywords to stick out very, very quickly. And I'll give you some insight. So I have a license on LinkedIn. It's called Recruiter. And this is where I can see who is in their job search, who's open to work. I could see everything. And I'll create filters. I'll create, maybe I'll look for a keyword, let's say data analytics. So I'll create a search on my side to search for professionals like yourself that have strong data analytics background. Now, when I search and I only see, let's say, one part of your profile saying data analytics, I will hesitate to reach out because I'm not feeling confident that you might have that entire skill set. In order to gain the confidence, you want it repeated in your LinkedIn profile. And apologies, my throat has been acting up. That's why you hear me a little bit raspy. And let's just go to any questions on that. Does anybody want to throw out some technical terms and see if those would be good to put in your profile? Do you want to maybe put in the chat some technical terminology that's associated with your focus, and I can give you some feedback? For example, Jason, you said data science. Do you have some terminology that you would want to use? Machine learning, that's great. How could I combine finance and sales, for example? That's a great question, Sharbo. How could I combine finance and sales? If it's okay, is it okay if we unmute Sharbo? Would that be okay? Alara?
Yes, sure.
Okay, great. Deep learning, data analysis, definitely machine learning. Those are great.
Hello.
Hi, Sharbo.
Hi, how are you?
Great. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying safe.
Yes, alhamdulillah as well.
Yes, please tell me a little bit more. Oh, thank you for putting the video. That's really great. Great to see you. Tell me a little bit more, because the intersection of finance and sales could have different variations. I would like to hear a little bit more.
For example, in my case, I'm a senior finance student at AUB, and I'm also interested in sales. In like 2 years ago, I opened my own e-commerce on Amazon, and I'm interested more to continue in it after hopefully my career in consulting. So I would like to include this in my profile, but I don't know how. For example, my actual profile is finance at AUB and then president AUB Real Estate Club. It's just like straightforward.
Okay. High level, without knowing more details, my recommendation is certainly incorporating business development, that key term.
Okay.
Definitely can mention sales as well. But business development is a huge term that is used across the industry in sales. That would be really great to incorporate everywhere. I would, not just in one section.
Business
try to
development.
incorporate it, yeah, everywhere. And then, the business development activities, not sure how much you've done on that side, but if you expand, let's say in your about section experience, you have maybe a couple of bullet points related to business development, and then a couple related to finance. So that way you're balancing your profile. It's not just one-sided, but it's showing that you have a balance of both areas.
So it would be like I could state as my LinkedIn on my bio section. It's like finance at AUB, business development. Then I could also mention maybe a leadership position.
Depending on your experience, I don't know your entire experience, but certainly making sure that both are represented in your profile and not just one.
Yeah.
Depending on, maybe if you tell me a little bit more about your experience, I can give you a little bit more insight, but I also,
I
yes.
did my internship at the Commercial Bank of Qatar as credit analyst and property manager, and I did my second internship at Bank of Lebanon.
Was it the same credit?
It was in financial services.
Financial services specifically. So financial services very broad.
Yeah,
What
specifically
in? Yes.
auditing and accounting.
Oh, great. I started my
Yes.
career there too.
Nice.
I'm also a CPA. Not sure if you're aware of that, but
Yes.
great. Okay, auditing and accounting. And then have you created your small business?
Yes.
Okay. So certainly you would want to, I mean, the auditing and accounting is finance related. It's not the heaviest.
Yes.
But maybe your small business, of course, it shows your entrepreneurship. So you could say it's an entrepreneur venture.
I created,
yes.
Yes, I created as well, since I'm president of the real estate club at my university. I created as well a sector of real estate clubs across all universities in Lebanon, at least most of the leading universities in Lebanon. So I guess it could also include in this point business development.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Just try to incorporate it within everything you've done. Find a way to articulate it within every experience that you have.
Should that include the description in my experience section? Because at the moment, for example, I deleted all the descriptions because I see like I should only state the position and how I contributed. Or, for example, for my real estate club, I wrote that I led the club to the second biggest club at the university out of 77 other clubs. That's the only thing I mentioned, for example, just to grab the attention for that specific point.
Yes.
So should I talk more about my tasks in the work experience section, or is it straightforward that I should put in position and how I contributed to the company?
I would say, again, a mix of both.
Okay.
What you could do, since I can't pull up your profile right now, send me a connection request on LinkedIn.
I will.
Oh, first, make sure always connection request has a personalized message.
Okay.
Never send without, just to, show more rapport in the message, just in general. For me, of course, you don't have to, but it would be great just
yes, definitely,
to make sure that you always do that. But send me a connection and then maybe I could look at it further. So that way I can give you a little bit more detailed insight in case anyone else has questions too.
Yes, definitely.
That I can help with. You're welcome. You're welcome, Shaba. Okay, great. Anyone else want to quickly speak about their keywords? If not, I can certainly move on.
I would like to.
Oh, is that James? No, sorry. Who was speaking?
Yes, it's James.
Oh, hi, James. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Yes, would love to help
so
you.
A quick review about me. I'm a finance student majoring in finance, minoring in data analytics at LAU. I work in digital marketing, digital advertisement. I launched an agency recently. I've been 5 years in the industry, so I have a background about business in general, and I would like to know what to include and what not to include in my portfolio. And besides, I'm a volunteer in Scouts and in Red Cross, so I don't know if it's an essential part to mention that I'm a volunteer.
Yes, James, thanks for asking. Always recommend, I didn't mention this. Always, so think about your profile as being that long-term personal brand. And if that is a great part about you as a person, you're volunteering, definitely emphasize it. Emphasize it on your profile. It's really important to understand who you are as a person too, even outside of your career. It could help someone gauge. And what if they have also a commonality with you when you're networking? Oh, I volunteered for the Red Cross too. So that could start a relationship, build a relationship even faster. Think through that too. What's on your profile that could build a relationship faster and where you can have a commonality with someone. And volunteering is certainly, it's certainly part of your personal brand. I mentioned keywords because I'm thinking through optimizing for job search, but when you optimize for your personal brand, certainly those activities, they hold a lot of weight. They do. That's a
All
great
right,
question.
thank
So
you so much.
finance, yes, finance, data analytics, and you have a digital marketing agency. What is your I shouldn't say end goal. What is the next step for you? Are you looking to expand this digital marketing agency, or are you looking to focus on your studies and be in a career that has finance and data analytics?
So basically, I'm in between. I would like to have experience in finance, with investment finance, everything related to investments. Plus, I would like to continue with what I do in digital advertisement.
Okay.
But I think I would use my portfolio on LinkedIn to look for my finance career more than the digital advertisement.
I was going to certainly mention it could confuse a recruiter and a hiring company when they see you have your own company and yet you're targeting investment finance. That could be a little bit confusing. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes I recommend to not include that if it's strictly you're using your LinkedIn profile for your job search, for example. Because what they may think is, okay, James, you have your own business. How are you going to stay committed to us? So you don't want that hesitation or the bias to come into play. I always recommend thinking through that and sometimes not even including it on your LinkedIn. Once you get the job and, maybe you can include it, but just to ensure that there's no confusion. If you want, you could always put an end date as well. Like, hey, it was an entrepreneur venture. And you could put an end date if you want to show your entrepreneur skills. But if you're strictly targeting experience in finance, I hesitate to tell you to include that one, the digital marketing agency. And again, it's up to your comfort level. I want to share how a recruiter could think when they look at your profile and they see you have your own business and now you want to work for this great company, they might hesitate on your commitment when they see that.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
Eli, sorry if I mispronounced your name.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How do I pronounce your name?
Elio.
Elio. Okay.
I just wanted to ask if it's a small business, we mentioned a small business. It's not a full business, growing business, just for pocket money, etc. We should mention it or not, especially in applying for a position related to business or they have communication with customer. For example, consulting, you need to have a great communication with customer, not as you do in small business, but it's a way of communication. So we should mention it or not in the CV.
I was trying to follow you.
The
The
what?
role that can you repeat the role again that
For
you were
example, in consultancy, you sometimes need to have a great communication with customer, know what they need and what they don't need. So sometimes it's, a small business can help you communicate easier with customer. You have like a small experience in it. Isn't it a bonus in your CV?
so it's a small business that you worked at that you had
Yes, yes, that I own, not I work at, that I own.
that's unrelated to your studies.
Yes,
And how long did you have that for?
for like 2 years.
Okay.
I'm a mechanical engineer, for example, if I applied to a business consultant.
Do you have any internships specifically in your major of mechanical engineering?
Yes, I had at CAT Group, which is a contracting and trading. It's different than consulting.
Okay.
So just my point is if I should or should not include my small business in my CV.
Can you tell me a little bit about the small business?
It's just selling stuff online, like small gadgets, bring gadgets from outside Lebanon and selling it in Lebanon through marketing and etc.
I hesitate to say that would hold a lot of weight only because they want to see direct experience with what you majored in.
Yet,
It
and my
shows your
CV,
it shows your entrepreneurial skills. And of course, the communication, they're going to assess that during the interview process. I don't think that I don't feel strongly that including it is going to help them make a better decision, for example. If you include it, you can speak to it, but then they might get confused too. You want more alignment versus confusing them, if that makes
okay,
sense.
yes,
Even though you have strong soft skills and you needed strong soft skills to be successful in that business, it's always going back to, okay, what's related to your studies? That's really what they are looking for, the technical side first. The soft skills is always second.
okay. Thank you.
I should say most of the time. Now, later on in your career, when you're at the manager level and above, that becomes really critical. They want to see more of, okay, where did you manage? Where did you cross collaborate? That would be really, really crucial at maybe just a little bit higher of a level. But if you're just entry level, try not to confuse them, I would say, if that's okay, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Great. And Elio, you could still include it. I don't feel strongly it will hold a lot of weight in the process of them deciding.
So it's like neutral, not positive, not negative.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
And if you do include it, don't put like so many bullet points. Just keep it at like one bullet point. So that way, the related experience that you have to your major, to your focus area, that is weighing in a lot on their decision versus them looking at like 5 bullet points on your small business.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, great, Elio. And please connect with me on LinkedIn too.
Sure, already done.
Okay, good. Awesome. I had a quick question from Mohammed. I didn't do an internship yet, but I did projects and courses that have to do with energy and HVAC. Can I add energy? No, yeah, yes, definitely you can add. You could definitely identify the main courses that relate to the area you're getting into. Certainly, hopefully it's on a priority to complete an internship if possible. I know that really helps the hiring company move forward more quickly or identify you as like, the top 1% of professionals. But still you utilize where you can the key terms. Who knows about the, I'm sure a lot of you do know, who knows about the setting open to work? Maybe if you give me a thumbs up, if you know, if you don't, maybe just tell me, hey, I have no idea what that means. Okay, I see a thumbs up. Okay, great. Just quick overview on that. And this is really utilized when you are searching for a job, but maybe, maybe even in your career, when you're like, hey, I'm not searching, but if something else is better out there, let me just raise my hand. That way recruiters and hiring companies know I'm open to a conversation. So the setting open to work, you could turn this on in LinkedIn, and this will notify recruiters and hiring companies that you are open to a discussion about different opportunities. The key here, and this has changed over time, the past, maybe I would say 3 years, LinkedIn continues to update things. Now, open to work has all of these different options. The one item to very much pay close attention to is that you select the best options. For example, when you put your open to work on, there might be a title that you select, and there's like hundreds of titles you could select. Definitely be selective with what you select versus just saying, okay, finance or accounting, mechanical engineering. Look at all of the options before you select to ensure that you're giving the right message to that hiring company and the recruiter. And make sure, another item is, make sure you utilize as many titles as you can. Right now, they allow you to pick 5. In the past, it used to be only like 1. Now it's up to 5. So make sure I mentioned, max out, meaning select as many as you can, just to increase the likelihood that a recruiter and a hiring company can reach out to you. And this is, of course, after you've optimized your profile. You don't want to turn this on if you haven't put in the efforts to optimize it and look really attractive. So that way, when you turn it on, when someone's reviewing, they have the 20 seconds to review. It all comes together for them. When they see you're open to work, they know exactly what you're about, and you give them confidence to reach out. That's really what you should do when you optimize your profile. And then pay attention to the locations. Some errors or mistakes that I see here is someone could put like the whole country as a location, let's say United States or Lebanon, for example. That sometimes could be hard for your profile to get surfaced, meaning if someone is searching for you on LinkedIn and you put a country and they're filtering for, let's say, a specific city or a metropolitan area, then it could be harder to identify you. You can always put a country, but definitely putting metropolitan areas is very, very helpful. For example, there is for New York City, it could be New York City metropolitan area versus just New York, New York. You select metropolitan. And that way you get captured more in their searches on the other side, the hiring company. Any questions on open to work? Okay, great. Now, I know it seems like life is providing you some tools to optimize your resume. So I left it pretty brief, but I'm here to answer any questions. On your resume or your CV, you might also refer to it as a CV, the positioning matters a lot. Now, early on in your career, you might only need to position it where you have only one resume. Later on in your career, you might have variations of your resume that speak to different roles because now you've diversified your skill set and you can pursue not just one type of opportunity. You might be able to pursue multiple that have a little bit of a different focus or a different niche. So you want to keep that in mind as you continue to grow in your career. Have a benchmark resume. Benchmark meaning you have one solid resume that speaks to the keywords, speaks to you as a great professional. But then later on, as you diversify your skill set and you start getting approached by different opportunities or you're pursuing opportunities, you want to make sure your resume continues to be tailored to the company that you're pursuing. Meaning, so if they speak in a different language or it's a different industry, you want to mimic their language. It might be minor tweaks, but those minor tweaks will go a long way, because once you start speaking the language of the hiring company, the recruiter, you're looking at the job description, you're saying, oh, well, maybe even my chronological order of the bullet points I have or what I mentioned, maybe I should put this bullet point higher because they prioritize that. Just for example, tailoring is very, very, very important. Quick tips, definitely always, again, incorporate key terminology, those technical terms, some of those that we just discussed, very important. It depending on where you live, I know in different areas of the world, you might need to have personal information on there, maybe your picture. Specifically in the US, you wouldn't need that information. In different parts of the world, it might be something that they do use. Just make sure you're aware of what the standard is in your country or the country you're pursuing. Just make sure you're aware of the standards. Nothing fancy. Just keep it at, the content. The content is what really, really matters. Forget about the design and everything like that. Sometimes the design can cause a bias, and you don't want that to happen in the process. Oh, Sharbo, yes, sure. Would love to answer your question.
Yes, thank you. For my CV, my current template that I'm using like the consulting template that for at least me and my friends, everyone is using technically the same template. And in this template, there is the extracurricular activity, at least it's for a student template.
Yes.
Or a leadership experience other than the work experience. Once I will launch my career into the professional world, would this section be canceled because I will have maybe other positions actually available? For example, let's say I was head of logistics at the university, president, and this stuff. Will it be canceled once I launch my first work experience?
I like that you have extracurricular and it shows, again, like who you are. So I recommend keeping that section as long as it's pretty brief. But then also, as you continue to build your career, removing stale dated items. So let's say you haven't been involved in something for 5 years. It doesn't really make sense to keep it on the resume because it's no longer as relevant. But if you stay active, then definitely keep it. So I would say definitely within a 5-year mark, if you're no longer active in an organization or an extracurricular activity, because now if they ask about it, it's like, okay, well, you're not even involved anymore. They didn't know you weren't involved anymore. You want it to be a nice discussion point. Maybe the goal for extracurricular is, hey, if they want to ask you something about you versus just the technical side, they have a nice discussion point. And you open it up, like someone might have a commonality with you. It might start the networking or the interview process with, oh, I saw this. It happens all the time, actually. Someone put, they have an interest in sports or traveling, basketball, something specific. But definitely keep it. Just stay aware of the stale dated. Over 5 years, I would say, try to update it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Shabu.
Sorry.
Mohammed?
Yes, بدي أسأل أنا بالإكسبيرينس حاطط projects out of my academics، يعني مش بقلب الكورسات بس كمان حاطط projects عاملهم as part of courses. should I put them؟ إن أنا حاطهم على الCV، حاطهم على الإكسبيرينس كمان.
I was trying to follow you to my best ability. The projects, can you tell me the projects you're referring to?
Technical projects,
Technical.
ventilation design, competition, PV panel layout، يعني in my major. Some of them كانوا برات إنه my courses some of them بقلب my courses فأنا حاططهم كإكسبيرينس. المفروض أحط ال in course projects كإكسبيرينس.
Projects in the experience. And these projects were related to your studies or related to, is this a small business? Apologies, I couldn't follow that.
So and if it be extracurricular projects, technical projects.
Extracurricular projects outside of your studies?
Can you repeat that? مقطش.
Outside of the university?
And outside of the courses. بس إنه the university offered them.
Oh, okay. And you're calling
And
that experience. Okay, I see. Is it similar to an internship at all, or is it an internal project to the university?
It's more like for the internet project to the university.
Okay, I like that. What I would do in your experience section, this is a suggestion. You could put your university name
Mm.
and then and bullet points as projects you were engaged in. You could say engaged in project related to X, this was the result, or this was, this is kind of like articulating the value you added to this internal project, but putting your university and then the projects that you worked on. And if you can relate it back to the technical terms, that's great too.
Okay. What about in-course projects? And the courses we have projects for them. Do I add them as experience too?
That would be hard because that's within your studies.
Okay.
That's internal to like the curriculum. But if it's external to the curriculum, like those internal projects in your university, I think that's more fair to put in experience versus the courses. Now, in the courses, if there were major projects, you should definitely, like in your education section, sorry, let me just rephrase that. Emphasize the projects that hold the most weight in your career that are in the courses, but under education as bullet points in so you put your university, your major, and then you put the projects as bullet points. The ones that are most relevant, the ones that are the most impressive, not all of them. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, Rian.
Hello, good evening. Hope you're doing well.
You too.
I have two questions. The first one, based on what Sharbel asked already, I am part of two different committees. I am a chemical engineering student. I am part of two international committees for chemical engineering, and it's been like 5 years in these committees, and I've been in different positions in their board, like alumni coordinator, chair, vice chair. So shall I keep them while applying for jobs? Or shall I've written a small description about each position. What were my tasks? Shall I keep them or shall I make it more concise since my CV is now like a page and a quarter? What shall I do in that case?
Okay, if you are in your studies, you're a recent graduate, about to be a recent graduate, I do not recommend more than one page. Now, just quickly, because you're asking this question, I want to give some quick feedback points on formatting. This could be very basic, but in case you don't know, try to change the margins and try to change the font size of the text. So you could go all the way down to like 10 on the font. So if you have a bigger font, definitely update that. And then the margins, you could play around with the margins, especially the top and the bottom. Sometimes the default is like a huge margin where you could add at least like 4 additional lines if you were to shrink the margin, the top and the bottom. So that maybe could help you to get to that one page. Those committees that you were involved in, I highly recommend including them because it's showing that you're putting efforts outside of even your coursework, and it's still related to your career, correct? On the engineering side.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah, and it's showing your explicitly and implicitly, it's showing your leadership qualities, but also it's showing your connection to your field, how you're dedicated to grow in your field. That is great, especially early on in your career.
Yes, I got it. I have one more thing. If like I am a chemical engineering student and I'm applying for a position which is related more into petroleum, since I can work in the petroleum field. And during my studies at university, I took technical elective courses in in petroleum engineering, like midstream drilling. Shall I add them in the education section, like for reference or what?
Well, that's related to petroleum, correct?
Yes, I am a chemical engineering student, but I've taken technical elective courses in petroleum.
My recommendation overall for courses, because you could list so many, select the ones that would hold the most weight and that align to what you're targeting.
Okay.
So midstream definitely aligns given it's related to petroleum. But I don't know if you took other courses that also align to petroleum. So being selective with which ones you emphasize, not putting everything, but be selective. And the ones that maybe the courses that are more technical versus, let's say, an intro to a subject. If it was especially something advanced, that could really, really help. But not every course. For example, like how many courses have you highlighted right now in your resume?
I've not mentioned any since now I'm doing my job search and I started to find like some opportunities in the petroleum field and they are requesting chemical engineers. But like to relate to these opportunities, I was thinking about adding the courses.
Yeah, of course. I think that it's a key term, midstream. And I'm not sure of all the courses. Again, just think through which ones could be the best to emphasize. And when you're going through a job description or you're studying the job description, or maybe you have insight from someone that you know, make sure you're speaking their language. The goal is align as much as possible to help them review quickly and to identify you as a great candidate. So the more alignment you could do with the key terms is really, really important. The key terms in courses, definitely, those will pop out to them, which is great. That's a good question.
Deal. Can I ask one last thing?
Yes.
Also, in doing my job search, I found like in some countries they ask that if I am an engineering student, they like require an ABAT accreditation for my degree. Shall I like add this also on my CV or we keep it for the interview or
I can't answer that question in full confidence. I'm not sure about that. Apologies. Might, can definitely do some research. I can't, given I don't typically help college students as much, I shy away from giving you a great answer. And I would love for you to potentially reach out to someone that could give you a better response if that's okay.
Okay, deal. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Sharba?
Yes. May I ask a quick question? If to be straightforward, for example, let's say for the banking sector, if someone is, for example, aiming to reach a position in the World Bank, let's say, is it easier to go straight out of the university to this position or to go into a national bank, for example, then to get transferred to the World Bank? That, for example, in the banking sector.
That's a great question. I know there is a premium member that works at the World Bank. Is there an active role there that you're pursuing?
Personally, I'm not aiming for the World Bank. I just used it for the content of the content of the question.
Okay, you are not pursuing though.
No,
Yes.
I'm not. But it was just to. I'm using it actually for a consulting position, but I wanted to relate it to the banking sector as for the purpose of the example.
Okay. It depends on different factors. First, what are the requirements of the company? Do they have a hard requirement, meaning they never move forward with someone coming straight out of university? Or do they have a history of hiring professionals that come from university? They don't require experience at a national bank. It really depends on their hiring, honestly, their internal hiring requirements and the principles on the hiring side that would dictate the success. So doing some research as to, okay, historically, let's say you go on LinkedIn, you look at different profiles, you see where they started, then you would get a sense, okay, I do have a shot here. Another way, though, to help guide you, once you've optimized your LinkedIn profile, let's start connecting with everyone at a high position, low position. Let's start networking, because now you have a great profile that can spark conversation more easily. For networking, really quickly, because I want to make sure that I give you some tips here. When you network and you're reaching out to someone that does not know you at all, you want to keep the message pretty concise. And coming out of university, you could say, hey, would love to connect. Hi, their name, would love to connect. Great to see your success at X company, whatever it is, let's say World Bank. And then just put your name. If they accept, then you send them another high level message about your interest in the field, would love to hear more about their growth in the company. You focus on them, you don't focus on yourself, just to spark that conversation. Human nature, a lot of people might like to talk about themselves. Maybe they never have the opportunity at work, in their family, and someone is saying, oh, great to see your success and would love to hear more. It could spark that conversation. And actually, I do have a program. I help experienced professionals with networking tactics on LinkedIn. And this is one that has been really successful. Just focusing on that professional's growth, their success, wanting to learn more, and keeping it, hey, are you open to a conversation in the next 2 weeks? Something along those lines, pretty concise. Don't write too much, because the person might not have time to read everything. And they're also probably working, they have a family. So just think through how you can stay concise in your messaging. Then, as you continue to build your network on LinkedIn, this is another pointer that I should mention. The more connections you have, the more your network opens up on LinkedIn, meaning the more people you can actually see and connect with. So right now, if you search for someone or you search for a company, you might not see all of the employees, because if you're not connected to someone that's connected to them, that's connected to another person, that person will show up as like anonymous, like just a blank name, just say LinkedIn member. So the goal with networking, I should have emphasized this more throughout this presentation, is connect with everyone you know. Connect with those you don't even know, because the more connections you have, the more visibility you have on the platform. So when you are targeting a specific company, now you can actually connect with the person you want to connect with, versus you want to connect with more people and like they're showing up as just a member, and it's not giving you the name, it's not giving you the opportunity to connect. So definitely your connections, let's get that to 500 plus at least, if you can. Start through your university, your family, people you know in life community members. Try to get your network more open on LinkedIn so your visibility can increase. And then of course, once your visibility increases, now you might have a first connection to the company you want to target. So you might know someone at World Bank that's working there right now. And it makes it easier to start a conversation, because now they are in your network, or they're connected to someone that knows you. There's a mutual connection. So when you go to connect, they're going to see that you know someone that they know, and it increases the likelihood that they'll connect. but start with
Sounds
building out the network, especially
yes,
with
sounds
with
good.
and with a small business. Think through, okay, clients aren't going to be able to find you, or you're not gonna be able to find them if you don't have that visibility on the platform.
But just because I've heard this feedback before, I don't know how accurate and how much it's true. But for example, let's say an MIT student graduated and he started working at Intel. So if he wants to transfer, for example, from Intel to Oracle, he would the HR would see that he has mainly Intel background instead of MIT. Now, like he's considered as Intel employee, not MIT student. So that would go back to the point that you should focus on getting the right job from the first, let's say, first shot, because to not treat your profile in different way. Did you get what I mean?
Yes, so your marketability, of course, will increase with a big name, with a big
Yes.
company. It makes it easier. Okay, you've worked at a big company before. Well, our environment is similar. We are a competitor, or we are not a competitor, but we're a big Fortune 500, for example.
Okay.
Yeah, that always helps. Like, you have to be selective with where you accept your offer. But even if it's not the first company that is a big company, that doesn't mean that you wouldn't be able to transition into a big company later on. And networking can help you get in the door too. But if it's the first role you could get with a big company, yeah, of course, that holds a lot of weight on your resume and long term, like everyone knows those brands. So yes, it does help.
But for the sites question, I've seen, it's another question, just a quick question. I've seen a lot of life alumni put it as part of their work experience, life scholar.
Oh,
So is that
okay.
thing right to do, or it's not?
Well, it shows you're part of a global community that is valuable. Now, under experience, I don't know if I would put it there. Maybe organizations. I hesitate to say experience, but of course, it's okay. As long as you put a bullet point as to you're part of the community, so they know it's not a full-time employment role that you're
or
in.
scholar, for example, it would be straightforward. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you add a little bit of context as to what life is and that you're a community member, I think that could be okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And Sarah, I saw you had a question in the chat. Are you still here?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. First of all, thank you so much for this presentation. I just had a small question. As a law student in my final year, let's say that you have work experience and internship experience in a specific field,
Mhm.
and then you want to like maybe try to explore a new field or to apply to a new field. Would it still be useful to shine on this experience in your CV or on your LinkedIn or in any other document?
Which specific roles or experience are you targeting? Maybe that could help me answer the question a little bit better.
For example, I interned at a lawyering firm in arbitration. Maybe I want to try another field or another experience or another kind of job totally, maybe. Or
Okay. And specifically in law? So a different niche within law?
yes.
Okay. Okay. I understand a lot better. Okay, great. And your question is, should you emphasize this internship, or how can you position?
Should you? Yes. And should you emphasize it on your profile in general?
Well, any internship is great when you are in university. Not everybody does completes internships and you're still studying, so you don't have to commit to just arbitration. You can try to emphasize this internship where there's commonalities with other areas of law. So when you articulate it on your resume, don't just focus on the arbitration terminology. Focus on the high level legal field and see how you can articulate it where it speaks to other niches. Does that help?
Yes, so like how I can what I can take away from it and relate it to other fields.
Exactly. And this is a mistake that I actually see sometimes, and not with internships, but as you continue your career. So let's say you start off in a specific area of law, but that might not be your career forever, that specific area. Now you go to interview for a different position, and it's not, let's say, related to arbitration, but your whole resume is speaking that language of just arbitration. And it would be hard for someone to move forward because they can't see the relevancy. And then even throughout the interview process, let's say you interview for another internship or a full-time role, try to speak more of the generalist terminology versus very specific to arbitration. Of course, if they ask, hey, tell us more, tell them a little bit of detail on the arbitration side, but focus on the whole versus just arbitration. And like you said, relate it back to the entire field so they can see that you can add value in a different focus area and not just arbitration.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Amy?
Yes, hello Rita, thank you for holding this meeting. I hope
You're
you're
welcome.
well. So I have a question. I'm a fifth year engineering student. My background is engineering. I've done a couple of internships as well as projects and extracurricular activities. But on the other side, I have developed an experience in a completely different field. It started, which is the F&B industry. It started as a side hustle, but then I got really into the management of it. I've worked for 3 years as a manager for a bar catering company, which is one of the best in Lebanon. And then I worked as a beverage consultant. I took on many projects for restaurants and bars in Lebanon. And I've recently started working freelance I opened my own bar catering company. I'm taking events alone. But my question is, I see how this is good in terms of skills, but I don't see where to put it in terms of CV and LinkedIn, and especially when I'm applying to engineering positions, which I don't see any relevance for this experience. But when I'm applying
Yes.
to consulting positions, so maybe that's a very good point to light on, since it brings a lot of problem solving and communication and leadership skills.
Yes, it does emphasize your leadership skills, your soft skills. You said you do have internships related to your field of engineering though, correct?
Yes, 4,
4?
exactly.
Okay. And you are pursuing a role in engineering, correct?
I'm still a
Not,
student.
you're not pursuing a role on the restaurant side, the beverage consulting that you've been doing, correct?
I've Last thing I did, it was that I started working freelance. So last summer I was taking events on my own. So I didn't get your question.
Yes. Okay. I believe I have a kind suggestion for you. If you are pursuing something in your field of study, of course, so what you're doing on the freelancing side is great, but it's not going to give the confidence more than your internships. Your internships will hold more weight in the decision-making process. So emphasize, you could always mention that side, this, you know, the freelancing you're doing. But if you do, you don't want to, your resume should be more balanced to your internships directly into your field.
Yes,
Because
but
that is most aligned.
yeah, but since I'm more interested in consulting than I am in engineering, I've got many reviews about this point that it is a very, very, very important point that I have this entrepreneurship role
Okay.
at the time of my life, and that I held managerial positions, and that I work on freelance. So this is a very important thing in consulting.
Can you, which consulting is it? Because consulting is very broad.
Like strategy and management consulting.
Again, you can emphasize that. And strategy and management consulting is related to engineering studies, correct?
Yes, so as engineering, if you want, we get the choice to choose a engineering path or a consulting path, which is more business driven.
Are any of your internships related to the consulting side?
No.
Okay. You still have to have a good amount of knowledge to even go into strategy and management, and the internships will stuff. I don't know all of the details about the internships, but I hesitate to tell you that your experience would directly align to strategy and management. I hesitate to say in full confidence that it does. You can still include it because it shows your entrepreneurial skills and, like you said, management. But I hesitate to say that it would hold that much weight. I think have a balance maybe of how you emphasize it. And then when you include it on your resume, make sure that the way you articulate it speaks the language of the strategy and management. So what are they exactly looking for? How does it relate to what you did? And articulate it in that manner. So that way it does stick out. That way it shows alignment versus like, for example, you're using all this restaurant beverage terminology. That's not going to help. What's going to help is emphasizing the management strategy side that you used in the restaurant, but not necessarily emphasizing the restaurant and beverage and all of the terminology in the restaurant, if that makes sense. So when you look at the job, or if there's a description you're looking at, or even the knowledge that you know, what is their priority, relate it back. Does that help?
Yeah, I get it. I was just more concerned on where to put this kind of experience, either on the CV or LinkedIn profile.
So definitely, if you add it, it would be in your experience section. It would be depending on the dates. So if the dates are, if your internships were former, so you would just chronologically put it in order. So if it's active right now, then you could definitely mention it. Or if you just want to say like you have an end date, again, you don't want to cause confusion. Are you doing freelancing or are you starting in strategy and management and have that 100% focus? You don't want them to feel confused. with that. If you leave it open that you're still doing this, then they might question, are you going to be committed? But chronological order, if you were to include it. Does that help? Sorry.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Just a quick question, because I just saw it come through. Ahmed, should everything on your CV also be included on your LinkedIn profile? Definitely not. You want your LinkedIn profile to be more of high level summary that includes some of the areas of your CV, but it's more of a quick read. It's a quicker read. Think of it that way. So include, let's say, for example, a benchmark of three to four bullet points max for each experience. I would say 3, especially if you're in university. Select the top 3 bullet points, make sure they have the keywords, and you could input that. But it should not be your resume. Archer?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I just heard you. Are you able, I think your mic is off.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, so firstly, I wanted to thank you for giving this session. And my question was regarding the, how you structure your LinkedIn experiences. So assume you have like 20 experiences or she 10, right? Since you said that you only have 20 to 30 seconds to capture the attention of HRs, we need to include only the most relevant, right? And so that it doesn't like end up being experiences plus 16 under the section.
So you have 20 experiences that you could add?
No, just assuming. Like assume you have a lot.
I was going to say you were really busy in university. Okay.
No. Yeah.
Okay, so yes, you you want to include what aligns. And throughout your career, you're going to have different experiences. I don't want to think too far out, but let's say someone with 20 years of experience. They don't have to keep everything on their LinkedIn profile. There are some professionals that might just have like one experience and then list, okay, prior experience was this. And it's just 1 versus 10 early on in their career. So definitely want, like you said, 20 to 30 seconds. You want to make sure you have the critical pieces that can help them move forward. Or when you're networking, they know what you're about at a glance very quickly. They know what you focus on. They know a little bit more about you in your about section. And in the about section, don't write like a whole essay. Keep it high level. Just think of yourself when you go on someone's profile. Do you read every single thing? Or it could be overwhelming if someone reviews a whole essay on your about section. I would say a max of 2 paragraphs if you can. And really think about your personal brand, like what you're about professionally, personally, and just at a very high level, not too much information. I hope that helps. But please ask me a follow-up question if there's something more that I can help with.
Yeah, so that does help. And I remember you saying to keep a maximum of 3 bullet points per experience to describe it and add the relevant keywords. Is it okay if it's less, like 2, but like it covers everything that needs to be covered?
I feel that's great. If you've articulated that well, it's directly aligned. That is also great, especially when you're still in university. You might not have as much to emphasize, but later on in your career, you'll have a lot, and you just want to continue to be concise on your social platform. But yes, that would be great. 2 bullet points.
Okay,
Kal-
awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome. Khaled?
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me right now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, great. So I just wanted to ask a question regarding the bullet points. Should I emphasize on the numbers, the accomplishments, and is it case sensitive? Like the ATS system, when it reads the bullet points, does it look for specific words or can it look for synonyms as well?
Great question. The ATS, there's a lot of, I would say that getting through the ATS is a huge myth. It's more of, do you have those key technical terms that they're looking for? That's really, really important with throughout your whole entire career. And I'll tell you a little bit more why this is. Imagine an HR professional. This person knows nothing about your field. They have never been in your field. What they are doing is matching what their boss gave them in a job description and what you have on your resume. If they're not seeing alignment or it's causing confusion, they're going to skip. That is basically going to get skipped. Now, in the ATS, just because there's an ATS doesn't mean that the ATS reviews it. There could be a human being reviewing it. But in all, whether it's AI or a human being reviewing it in the ATS, you want to make sure there's alignment with the job description. You want to make sure you're speaking the language of that specific company. And you want to make sure you're not causing confusion. That is really, really important because the first reviewer might not be that potential boss that you're going to have. It's going to be someone that is so removed from your industry, from your area of expertise, that you have to basically, I hate to say it, dumb it down. You have to be explicit. Nothing is ever implicit on your LinkedIn profile or your resume. So if you're like, oh, someone would just know this about me because I studied this, or now I have experience here, they would just know that I did that from my title. Always, the key here is never assume that they know. Always be explicit. I think that's a really good question because it brings that out throughout your whole entire career. Always be more explicit and never assume that they just know. I hope that helps. And I'm sorry, the first part of your question, can you just repeat that if I didn't cover it?
No, yeah, you did cover it. I had another question regarding projects. When it comes to projects or unfinished projects, should I incorporate them in the CV, include them in the CV, or just wait till they're done?
Oh, great question. These are projects related to your studies?
Yeah, it's like a course project, and I think it's relevant to my experience and to my industry, so I just incorporate it in my CV.
Yes, definitely can put that you're actively working on it. You could definitely put present, like if you had to put a date, but I recommend the projects within your university. You're putting them, is it under coursework, the courses that you're taking, or is it the internal project to the university?
It is under coursework.
Okay. Yeah, definitely anything that you're actively working on, that is great to emphasize because you have takeaways already. You've already built more of a skill set just being on the project, and it's okay. Just think of it as, okay, if you're currently in a job, yet you're still actively working there, you would still include it on your resume because you've done a lot, even if you haven't left yet. So certainly recommend including it. But just remember, generalist key terms that apply technically, very, very important to emphasize. And
fair enough. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I know we're at the time. I do have an additional 15 minutes in case there are more questions. I'd love to make sure I capture them. I have some cushion. Lara, not sure if that's okay.
Yes, sure. And we actually have 2 questions in the chat already.
Okay, great. I am just looking at that now. Charbel really quickly, is using bold character on my CV wrong? It's not wrong. It depends how you utilize it. For example, bolding your name, bolding the university, bolding your experience, like your title in your experience. And when you have like professional summary or you have education, all of those subheaders in your resume should be bolded. And then maybe the title. And then anything in between that is more of like a title or a subtitle. That would be okay. Hopefully that answers that question. I'm a senior. Hi, Jane. Chemical engineering. First, thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. My question is, I have a CV of 2 pages. Although I understand it's long as I haven't graduated yet, but we are applying for master's, for instance. Shouldn't we be including everything as it would be a reflection on? I challenge you to try to make it more concise into the 1 page. If not, it's okay. The best practice is certainly 1 page. But if you feel you cannot fit concisely, then that's okay. I can't say that's not okay. But if I challenge you to think through how you can make it, or now that you're in your MBA, how can you emphasize more of your MBA versus your bachelor's? So I challenge you a little bit on that one, but it's okay. 2 pages is okay. Leah, a question regarding to what Jane said for master's. Do we put on our CV what project we are interested in doing while highlighting relevant, or do we just mention the skills? I would mention the skills. The skills, anything super relevant, because you'll get that opportunity to speak about yourself more when you have interviews. It's not that you can't include what you're interested in, but I think you don't want to limit yourself either. There could be a great opportunity that you interview for, and let's say you didn't even mention that you're interested in that, and they're reviewing, they're like, I'm hesitating to reach out now because she didn't mention this. So maybe not emphasizing that, what you're interested in, because you may omit accidentally items that you could be interested in. Hopefully that helps. Shall I keep the school degree? And I apologize. I might not be very familiar with the different lingo on the degrees. Lara, if you could help me there with Ryan's question.
The baccalaureate is like the last year at school. That's a degree, or the school, saying you graduated from the school. Do you keep it on your CV, or do you just go straight into, the university and skip the part where you put your school name and details?
It's not the high school, correct?
Yes, high school, as in
Oh,
high school.
yes. I don't know all culturally, globally. In the US, we do not include high school. But and that's why I say the standard, if it's a standard to include it in your country or the country you're applying to, then just make sure you double check that, because I don't know globally. It's not a global standard. I just know we don't. In the US, we don't. We just do the university.
I see it a lot on CVs actually, but I think once you start, when you do in the region, but when you do like a second degree, or you do, the undergraduate and then you do a master's, then, they don't put the school name, So it's like the most recent two. I see this as very common.
Okay, good. Please take Lara's advice on that one. And high school, okay, high school degree. Okay. Anyone else have any other questions? I wanted to share quickly. I know we're out of time. You can, hold on 1 second. You can take a screenshot of this. It could help you. If you prompt ChatGPT, you input the job description, you input your resume, ask it to do a comparison. At minimum, it might save you some time. The technical terms, it might say, okay, you're missing these. So then you know to incorporate them. And you could play around with the prompt. Let's say it tells you something and you're like, okay, I really meant this, just in case you're like, this didn't work for me for some reason. It should. But you could always chat back and forth with ChatGPT to make your life easier, just in case you want to kind of fast track. Okay, do I have all the key terms? Definitely, you could leverage this. And wanted to share, if you don't know already, I'm on YouTube. I would love your support. If you could watch my videos, I have a lot on LinkedIn. I think that could really, really help bring everything together for you. Now, full transparency, a lot of my content is for the experienced professional, but that doesn't mean that you can't leverage some of the tips and tricks. It will really, really help you. And it'll bring everything together as well. Who has subscribed to my channel? I would love to hear if you have. Oh, thanks, Charbel. Thanks, Arthur. Farid, thank you. Oh, Jane, thank you for your support. I appreciate it. Thank you, Riwa. Also, we talked about, oh, Farid, if you have a question, we definitely can go through it. We talked about LinkedIn quite a bit. Please connect with me. Let's do a test. I have a challenge for you. Send me a personalized note so that way we can be connected. You can see the content that I post. And that way, if you have like a quick question here and there, I sometimes might not be able to respond right away, but I'll do my best to support you in your journey.
Hi, can you hear me? It's Farid.
Hi, Farid. Yes, I can
Yeah.
hear you.
I have a small question. If we're out of time, I can ask it to you through LinkedIn. I can connect with you. That depends.
Yes, I have time.
It's a quick question. So, if we're talking about someone who is majoring in engineering but is interested in consulting and has absolutely no experience in consulting, specifically business consulting, like a business analyst or something like that.
Yes. Your question, apologies.
I'm sorry, can you still hear me?
The question is, what's the approach if you want to go into business consulting, but you don't have that experience?
Yeah, exactly. So if you're an engineer, if you're majoring in engineering and you want to transition into consulting, you have absolutely no experience when it comes to consulting or business at all, but you want to go through this field, you want to go to this field.
Okay. How many more years of university do you have?
3.
3?
Or
Okay, so
actually
you
2. We are
2?
clear.
I would like to be fully transparent. Given it's not my area of expertise specifically, my recommendation is, if you haven't already, utilize the university's resources to potentially target an internship on the business consulting side. So I'll give you, and I'll tell you the reason, maybe a quick story. When I was in university myself, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And obviously it didn't end up happening that I stayed in accounting and finance forever, and that's okay. But early on, of course, that was what I wanted to focus on. And I didn't know the steps, the exact steps I should take. But what I started doing, not sure if your university offers this, I started connecting with more of the resources at my university and realized that there were certain events that occurred throughout the year, such as career fairs, where a lot of companies came in, you could introduce yourself in person. But I started to network at events more to kind of try to like piece it together for myself. Now, hopefully they have some resources, but if they don't have as many as you would like, once your LinkedIn profile is optimized, look at the career progression of professionals that are where you want to be and start connecting with them and asking them about their career journey. That way, you can get some pointers directly from your field, the field you want to be in. But of course, work on your LinkedIn first, because you want it to be attractive enough that someone wants to have a conversation and they want to share their story with someone who's a great professional. Make sure you have a LinkedIn profile picture, please. And make sure you're smiling and looking at the camera or looking straight, because you want to be approachable. I didn't mention that before, but that's really, really important. So leverage resources from the university, and then also speak to those in the industry already, whether they're at maybe early on, or someone that is manager, director, VP at a high level. You won't know until you start sending these connection requests and start messaging different people. I think that could give you more insight. And you never know, they might be connected to someone who's hiring for an internship. So now you're broadening your network, plus you're learning, and you're shortening the time frame of being successful to position yourself into business consulting. And hopefully that helps. Tell me if
Yeah, it does.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Thank you
Good.
very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Great.
Rian,
Maybe
I know we have to end soon too. Maybe one last question. Can we use ChatGPT in our CV? Never ever copy and paste, please. If anything, it should be more of, let me generate ideas, or let me take what I already wrote and let me make it even better. So you're saying, hey, ChatGPT, this is pretty powerful. Tell it to rewrite this bullet point I have on my resume to make it more attractive, for example. Tell it to rewrite it, and it could minimize the time that you spend like redoing things, but never copy and paste, but just tell it to rewrite. Hopefully that helps. That's a really powerful one I use a lot. So if it tells me something, I'm like, hey, can you rewrite this to be more concise? Can you rewrite this and incorporate these key terms? Can you rewrite this, for example, to attract hiring companies? Like something like that could really help. And I hope you guys enjoyed the session. I'd love to give me an emoji if you really enjoyed what you heard today. I'd love to have more sessions with you. Thanks, Arthur. Great. And Laura, I appreciate you putting this all together, you and your team. Not sure who else is still on right now, but I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Yusuf.
Thank you, Rita. On behalf of Live, the team, thank you for taking the time to do the session today. Very interactive, lots of questions. That's an excellent indication that everyone is interacting and benefiting from the session. So thank you so much. And also, I want to thank all the scholars who attended for their interaction, for asking questions. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. I hope you find my content on YouTube, on LinkedIn valuable. If you want to message me on LinkedIn, I'll do my best to timely respond to you, but certainly now you have my contact information on LinkedIn. We'll be connected, and hopefully we'll have more of these sessions to help you throughout your career.